Okay, we are live yet again. Let me just get going on Amazon here so we can hit the air, if you will. Okay, we are live in both places. So what are we doing today? Well, today I got in. So here's what's going on. I have, and I'm just going to get my comment thing up here. So tomorrow afternoon, this is not something that's going to be on the channel, but tomorrow afternoon I am going to help my local Rotary Club with their virtual shad bake. So if you're not familiar with the Rotary, it's about service above self. And I got on the Rotary Club many years ago, and I've been kind of lapsed as a member because they meet in the evening, and it's been hard for me to get out of the house on Tuesday nights to go to the meetings, but I've always helped with their shad bake. And usually I'm like moving stuff around, like we cook. I can see if I can find a video of it. And so what happened is that this year they weren't sure where the numbers were going to be at, and there's a lot of preparation that comes into making the shad bake happen every year. And they decided a few months ago to do a virtual one this year. And I'm just going to pull up some stuff here on screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. So we're going virtual, and what we're going to do is kind of do like a shad bake on screen to show people how you could do this in your own environment. So let me show you our page that we have set up here. I'm just going to pull it up on screen. So, and this will make sense in a minute. So what we do is we have this awesome event where every year we cook shad over a fire. I'm not sure if they have a photo of it here somewhere. We cook shad over a fire, and here you go. So this is what we do. We set up this fire, and then the shad sits on boards and cooks. So we're going to do a live stream for about 2.5 hours tomorrow. It's not going to be on my channel, but it'll be on the Rotary Club's page here. And what we're going to do is have somebody call in who's an expert in Connecticut River shad, like this whole thing. So it's not going to be done here. It's going to be done at a friend of mine's place. And what I want to do is have some mobile cameras. And what we're going to be using for the mobile cameras are a couple of these Pixel phones that I have. And in full disclosure, they sent me this phone free of charge a little while back. And this phone now has, hang on, let me get into my phone here and I'll show you what I'm looking at here. This phone has the new NDI camera. So over Wi-Fi, I can bring it into vMix. But I don't know how, we don't really have like a good Wi-Fi there. So I bought this, which is going to be helpful for future shoots. So this is a Wi-Fi 6 range extender, and you'll note that it is not a router. It is just a wireless access point. So what we're going to be doing, and I'll show you the app that I'm going to use, is this NDI HX camera, which has been only on the iPhone for a while, but now it's available for Android. And what basically this does is it turns your phone into another camera that you can bring into the production. So all you have to do is click on NDI here, and that makes it available as a video source. So we're going to probably have 2 or 3 of these phones connected through this extender, and then I'll have more cameras that I can use to do the production. So that's kind of what we're doing. So this is a stream. I'm not sure, I may review this because why not? But really this stream today is just getting this set up for tomorrow. So I'm trying to think about all the stuff that I need to bring with me. And I've got my, my Lenovo laptop, my gaming laptop, which is going to run vMix, which is what we're going to use for the stream. And I'll put a link, I'll figure out some way to get the link to you if you want to watch it tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be like really nice weather here tomorrow too. So I think the recording of the event will have more lasting value. So that's where we're going to go with this. Let me say hello to some folks, and we're going to open this thing up. So I've got Robert Branch here. Joe Tyson is here as usual. It's always good to see the regulars pop in. Nick Frasopa is here. Dava is here, just finished up school for the day. Awesome. Yeah, my daughter's getting out of school right now, as a matter of fact. Romeric is here, and Nick MG is here. So I'm not sure we're going to get all that many. I'm starting later than I usually do. I've been so busy this week. I've had so many things to do. So I think I'm only going to have like 2 videos up this week. Usually I do a little bit more than that. So there you go. All right, so let's open this thing up. And let's see what's in the box. And then we'll set it up. And my hope is that this can work as just like a dumb access point. I don't need anything fancy, no mesh, whatever. I just need this to be an accessible Wi-Fi access point. 3C's in a Pod wants to know, what phone is this? This is a Google Pixel 4a. Let me get my notifications off here. So I reviewed this one a little while back, but this app will run on any Android or iPhone. But this is a nice little phone for this. It's got a good camera. It's lightweight, you know, kind of low impact. I don't think it has Wi-Fi 6 built into it, but these will work with both Wi-Fi 6 and regular Wi-Fi AC. So I don't need a lot of bandwidth for this either. I think it's mostly a lot of packets. So it's really about capacity. But I think if with 2 devices pushing maybe 14 megabits per second, 12 or 14, it's not a lot. So I think we should be good if we're close by. So we'll have to see how it comes out. TVJ just did a high school graduation with vMix. Yeah, we're doing one. I'm doing one next week also. Although they're doing, it's actually kind of good. So last year for the high school graduation, we did vMix, and it was an 8-hour thing because it was a drive-through thing that we did. So that was quite an effort. This one's going to be a lot different because they're back to having a regular ceremony, and they have a great program at the high school to get kids into video and TV production. So the kids are going to be running all the cameras, and they're bringing out the Blackmagic switcher. So we're running that through a Teradek box to stream out with. But I'm going to probably bring my vMix laptop just as a backup, and I might have my vMix laptop send to the YouTube backup streaming server just as a safety net there. But that school has a great connection. They've got like fiber from the state, so it's super, super solid. Zachary Webb is here. He's looking to upgrade to Wi-Fi 6 since it works better. Yeah, you know what's funny? We did a review recently of the Wi-Fi 6 access point from Unify, which I've integrated into my network. So I've got one actually right over there, which I may have to turn off to prevent interference when I plug this thing in. One thing with it is that, you know, it's faster. I think I was pushing like an extra 200 megabits per second out of it maybe. But what's funny is that, you know, a lot of people think these things are like gigabit, but they're not. I mean, they say they are, but the backhaul is still gigabit Ethernet. So you're not going to get more than a gigabit, although I think you might get faster throughput if you're sending from one Wi-Fi device to another. So that might be an area where you see some of these speeds. But they're advertising 1.2 gigabits here, which you won't, I don't think you're going to see that. And granted, you got overhead on top of that too. But Wi-Fi 6 does tend to work better, and it's faster in many cases, and it also has the ability to support more capacity. So you can have more devices doing things with less things interfering. And yeah, Joe Tyson confirms what I thought, that it doesn't have Wi-Fi 6, although my iPhone here does. So when we put the iPhone on, we can do that. Sanjeev is interested in getting a SSD enclosure, but not sure which one to buy. You know which ones that I've had good luck with? I don't have it in front of me, but I have a Sabrent one that is Thunderbolt and USB, so it works with both. So you get the Thunderbolt speed when you need it, when you have a Thunderbolt connection, and then if you don't have Thunderbolt, it'll work with the other one. So look for that one, Sabrent Thunderbolt USB enclosure, and get a nice like Samsung NVMe or something for it, because I've been very happy with mine. In fact, that's what I use to dump my footage out. 3C's in a Pod says Pixel 3 would work. I think it would, yeah, I think it would. Yeah, as long as it can do 1080p 30 video, it should work for that. And Sanjeev, it is called Sabrent, S-A-B-R-E-N-T. But that's the one that I have. I bought a Samsung one to go with it. All right, so here it is. And let's pull off, it's got the plastic on it. Ow, I just got my finger caught in it. So it looks pretty beefy. And it's got the plug, so you basically, you plug this into the wall and then backhaul your Ethernet. Although I want to have it on the table here with me, so I might go find my power strip and hook that up real quick, get that going. And what I'm going to do is connect it to my, I was going to find an extension cord. Hang on a second, folks. I got to go grab a power strip so I can plug this thing in. I mean, it's convenient, but you might lose me here for a second. I'm going into my back room. Oh, pardon me, pardon me. All right, let's grab one of our power strips here. We'll just plug it into that. This will be good because I got to get these out anyhow for tomorrow. All right. It's kind of fun. These live streams are always, the ones that I do remotely are always challenging because there's always something new to do. And so this is something where I think having, because I'm going to have a lot of people that can help. So if I can bring in a bunch of phones and get a bunch of cool camera angles, I think that'll be really, really neat. You know, I'm not going to plug this into that strip. I'm going to plug it into the wall here. Okay, there we go. All right, so what we're going to do, I'll give you my other view here. What we're going to do here is we are going to backhaul this through my existing network. So before I plug it in, what I'm going to do is grab my Ethernet cable here, because this is what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to plug this into the network switch that will be driving the stream. And so we're going to backhaul off of that. And I'll put the antenna up here. Not the most attractive thing in the world. All right, so now we need to figure out what's going to happen to this thing after it turns itself on. So let me turn on the power switch on the thing here. And do we get lights? Let's see. We've got lights. It is lighting up. And it's funny, they don't give you any instructions in the box as to how to get it set up. Not that I can see. Yeah, there is literally nothing in this box to tell you how to, unless I missed it when I was, oh, no, I'm sorry, there is something in here. Okay. All right, so it says, oh, I see, so they're trying to make it really simple for people. So I'm going to go on a web browser. And I can go to tplinkrepeater.net. I think that's how I'm going to do it. So let's see if it shows up on the network here. And we'll see how we do things. And ProTech Guy says, range extenders, blah. Yeah, you know what? I would consider this more to be a, for me, this is really going to be an access point more than an extender, right? And so like they want you to set it up and use this tether app and da-da-da-da-da. But I'm going to set this up just to be an access point. So it's going to probably sit just like this tomorrow, where it's going to be sitting out kind of centrally located, and we're going to be connecting those phones to it that way. So we'll see what we get here. And as Joe Tyson says, these things are generally half the stated megabits per second. So I think that's going to be about what we'll get out of this, more than likely. Photo Mix Media wants a shout out. Should I do that? I'll shout you out. How about that? Recipe Bob is here. Hello. And yes, so it's going to be a very quick access point. And that's why I got this, because I really didn't have an exclusive access point that I could bring with me places. So that was the motivation to get one. And I figured, hey, we'll get a Wi-Fi 6 one and do that. So I think this one costs about $100, because that's what I paid for it. There was another one that was a little less expensive, but it looked like it was like the old one, and it wasn't being sold directly through Amazon, so I was reluctant. All right, so let's see if we can connect to this TPLink and see what happens. I doubt we're going to get anywhere, but let's see. And my ad blocker is telling me to, what? Oh boy. No, I typed in the wrong thing. You know what? You gotta be careful here, because you type in TP-Link extender, you get some really nasty website. TPLinkrepeater.net. There we go. All right. looks like you have run into an issue. Okay, so that means that I'm going to have to figure out what. So the IP address for this is 192.168.0.254. So what I need to do to get that to work is I'm going to have to jump onto my computer here and change its local IP so that I can connect to it temporarily. So it's not getting a DHCP address from my router. So I'm going to do that on the Mac here real quick. So we're going to go and figure this out here. Hacking May Fun is here. Hello. And Jinto's wondering if there's any repeaters that can max spoof. I don't know about repeaters, but I know that routers can. So we'll have to see where that goes. Chris says Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, I've been getting back into my routine. So my routine has always been like 2 o'clock, I go to the mailbox, I used to get a cup of coffee, and then when the pandemic hit, I stopped doing all that. So I've been back to normal. We haven't had a case in my community in a week, not one. Not like no positives in a week. So we are in good shape. I am back to my usual routine, getting my coffee. By the way, it doesn't have my address on it, so just my name. They don't deliver my coffees yet. I live too far out in the sticks to get coffee delivery. Versified is here. Looking forward to my thoughts on this. Yeah, so we are doing a live stream right now, so I did not do my disclosure, but I bought this. This I paid for with my own funds. But if anything else shows up that I have to disclose, I will do so. But thanks for stopping by and watching. Hacking Me Funds isn't using ad blockers bad. Well, you know what? It is and it isn't. What I do on, so first of all, I'm a YouTube Premium subscriber, so everybody who I watch gets my money anyhow, ad blocker or not. But what I have done with the ad blockers, especially at my old job, was that we were seeing malware coming in through advertisements that were on websites. And we had one incident where a guy was just browsing, he was like into Harley Davidsons, and on his lunch break and out in the warehouse, he was browsing, the Harley Davidson forum that he goes on. An ad shows up, it fires malware down the pipe and almost encrypted the entire network. Like thankfully he was like, we trained everybody, like if anything weird is happening to your computer, pull the plug and call us. And he did exactly what we told him to do. He said something was not right, he pulled the plug out of the wall. So we started putting ad blockers on everyone's computer because that was a vector. Was the ad blockers. But you know what else has been neat about, I use uBlock Origin. What's been neat about uBlock Origin is that I can use it to block certain parts of a web page. So I've been working on a project for a client, and they wanted to mask a portion of the screen that they didn't want, like it was private to that. It was a demo, and I was looking at my own information, and they wanted me to put my part private, like my private information private, which I was not opposed to doing. And normally I would just blur it out in editing, but uBlock, you can actually pick out portions of a web page to actually block that specific part of the page. It's awesome. So it saves me so much time. So it's a great thing there. Photomix says, great product placement with Dunkin'. Yeah, I should, listen, they're not sponsoring this, but I would gladly take their sponsorship. And they could even just get me coffee for a month or something, and I'd be okay with that. All right. And Win32 says, block element is very, yeah, I should do a video about that, because I was racking my brain about like, how am I going to do this? Because every time I was doing it through the Chrome thing where you could go in the back end and adjust it. And every time I did it, when you hit refresh, it would reset the page again. So the uBlock thing is, it's just amazing. And then you can, I'll do a video on it. I think I should do that. Okay, let me make a note about that, because I think it's super handy, super useful. So that might be a fun one to do, because I am running behind. I'm so far behind this week, and I could use a real quick one to. Okay, cool. And what's cool about uBlock is that it works with other versions of Chromium-based browsers too. So, okay. And as Chris says, half the fun, and I agree with this, half the fun is going out, exactly. You know, it becomes like the break in my afternoon just to get out for a few minutes. Wolf Factor, thank you very much for the super chat. Very kind of you. I appreciate that. All right, so I've got to just change the network address of my laptop real quick. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the Wi-Fi on that network because I'm using the Ethernet. So I'm just going to go manual here for a minute, and we'll say manually. And I'm going to give this 192.168.0.253, and we'll hit OK and apply. And now I should be able to hit that router. Let's see. Yep, there we go. OK. So let me pull up what I'm looking at here. And it looks like my connection dropped out. Did it? Oh, you know what's funny? Oh, I see. So, OK, so let me just do one thing. I have to make one adjustment here, folks. So I'm going to quit my NDI thing and reload it because I'm on two different networks now. So I've got my Ethernet on one and my Wi-Fi on the other. So let's see if that updates. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. If not, I'll just tell you what I'm doing. But it would be good to show you the screen, wouldn't it? So bear with me. OK, so that seems to feel like... Yeah, it's funny. It's defaulting. I struggle with this on the Mac quite a bit in that even though you set a service priority for the network, it often doesn't default to the other one. So let me grab this one more time here and see if I can get this connected. OK, try this again. Display 1. Let's see if it's going to work now. If not, I'll bring it in a different way. Yeah, it's not working. OK, hang on a second, folks. There's always another way to make it work. OK, so we're going to turn that thing on. And then we're going to add another NDI source. And that will make it work. All right, almost there. So how's everybody doing today? We having fun? I'm having fun. There it goes. OK, so now that's up and running. And now I'm going to go and add an input, NDI. And we're going to add, oh, my other thing isn't popping up yet. They did this, this whole big update with NDI also. Just the other day. Let's see, NDI. I'm just trying to get the screen up so you can see what I'm doing here. So I thought it might be good to demo the installation process, as I thought that would be helpful. So bear with me here, folks. Let me just get this working. I'm just trying to bring in this input here. NDI works great until it doesn't. OK, so that's popping up there. And now I think if there it goes. OK, sometimes you got to load up the NDI Studio Monitor, and that gets it working. OK, now we're good. So we are. Oops, bear with me. OK, so we are now going to connect. Let me just make sure. Yep. OK. So my kind disturb is close evening. OK. So we're going to go in here. And I'm going to make a password. I'm not going to make a very complex password because I want to make this easy to connect to when I'm on the road. So we'll do that and click Start. I'm just going to write down that password on my phone here. And now we're just waiting for the thing to reset. OK. All right, so now it's picking up all of my other things here. So I don't want to have it be on my network. So I think what I'm going to do, because what it's trying to do here is like attach to an existing thing to be used as an extender. And that's not what I want to do with this one. So what I'm going to do, I think, is go to settings and go to the manual process here. That's why I may not review this, because my use case is not what it's prescribed for, but it should work this way. All right, so let me just make sure. Okay, so now we're in here. And we're going to go to wireless. Just trying to see how this works. I'm actually going to enable both bands. And we're just going to call this Lon.TV 5. So that is how we're going to do that. And then I think what should happen here is that this should, if I reboot this, we're going to turn this off. We don't want the DHCP server working, because that's going to mess up everything. So what should happen here when I reboot this thing, yep, okay. All right, so now let's go to network. Yeah, so there we go. So I'm going to reboot this now, and I think what should happen here is that it should get on my network. So bear with me for 1 second. I'm just going to click the reboot button. And now it is rebooting. And then when it reboots, I suspect that it should show up as a simple extender. That's the hope. That's the hope. All right, let me take some more hellos here. So we have William Wilkinson. I'm losing track of my chats here. So hello. Mark Smith says, where are the controls for this? So this is in the web-based control panel for it. So that's how that works. Zachary wants to know, is this dual band or tri-band? Let's take a look at the box here. This is a Wi-Fi 6 range extender. I don't know how many bands it supports. My guess is probably dual band. I can pull up the product page on Amazon. It is, okay, it looks like that rebooted. So I think I can get my Wi-Fi back to my other network here. So let's do that real quick. Okay, is that okay there? Apply. All right, so let's look up the Amazon product page, and we'll see what we've got. And I'll give you a good example, by the way, of, so I had, oh, it just dropped my connection again. What is going on with my stuff today? There it goes. So I had it, you know, it usually has your, let me put this off here for a second. You know, it usually has your zip code up here, so I was able to block that with the uBlock thing. Isn't that cool? All right, so let me go in and find the product page for this. This is the RE605X. And if you're watching on YouTube and click on the Amazon link, it'll take you right into what we're looking at. So this is the one that I got. I don't know why it wants to deliver to California, but so let's see. This is dual band. So not tri-band, dual band, right there in the top. And for me, that's going to be fine. I don't need more than that. So now, let's take this phone out, and let's see if the phone will connect to the access point and see it. And if it does, then we can begin our testing of it here. So let's go to settings on the phone. And I'm going to go to Wi-Fi. Okay, so now if we look at the phone, we now have Lon.TV 5, which is our new network that we set up. And it's connecting. And it didn't ask me for the password, though, which was odd, because I'm pretty sure I set a password up on it. So we may need to do a little bit more work on this. So let me go back to, that's what gets confusing about this stuff. You think you set it up a certain way. And like I said, it's designed to be a very consumer-friendly kind of thing, so I'm not banging them too hard on this, but yeah, so it's not fine. It's not on the network, so I got to go back and repeat what I just did. So let's go back to network preferences. The good thing is that we were connecting to it through the network that it was attached to. All right, so let me try this again. And sorry for the delay on this, folks. It's how we troubleshoot. Every time we troubleshoot like this. Okay, so now I'm just browsing this. I will show you what I'm looking at here in a second. So the wireless extended network. Note the extended 5 gigahertz password is the same as your host password. So I don't want to connect it to a network. I think I have to do this differently. There's got to be a setting somewhere. Oh, you know what? This is what we got to do. There's a mode button up here. Hang on, everybody. So there is a mode up here. I think I had it in the wrong mode. So we're going to go to mode, access point. That's what I wanted. Okay, see that? Transforms your existing wired network into a wireless network. That's what we want. We don't want a repeater. We want a access point. So I'm going to click Save, and that's going to reboot, and that will hopefully get us going. Quake is here. Hello, Quake. Quake is on the Amazon chat saying hi. And now we're doing the mode switching. There we go. Quake is offering their password. I'm good on that. So we'll let it reboot. Then when it comes back up, I think we should be in better shape. So what we'll do is we'll set up the Wi-Fi the right way, and we'll go from there. So in the meantime, I'm missing a whole bunch of chats here. So let me go over to my chat room and see what people are saying here. I missed a whole bunch here, so I apologize if I missed you. Martin Paolini says it is 2x2 MIMO. Yep, I think it is. Chris says they must have a really strong signal if you can get it shipped and set up in California. Absolutely. Russell uses the AX1800. Yeah, TPLink actually makes some good stuff. I have a TP-Link switch in my equipment room. And actually, my old job, we had a whole bunch of TP-Link switches and stuff. Andy, an Amazon customer, thank you for following me on Amazon. Is it possible that some other device, like the router, is storing the password? Yeah, I think this was due to the mode change that I was on. That was probably what it was. And Zachary Webb is looking at an Asus this time, coming up from a cheap Microtik. I had an Asus one a while ago, and I was looking for it. I think I gave it to my brother or something because I couldn't find it. So yeah, so the mode switch I think was the issue there. So we'll wait for that to come back up. Brett Overend here is from Australia. Hello. All right, so let me see where we are at. Because now it's probably got its own IP address, so I've got to track that down. But let me check up on, so what I could do for that is I can go to my Unify app on my phone and go through the client list and see what it ended up with. This is why they try to make it overly simplified, right? Because they don't want people going through this whole thing of trying to figure out who's doing what. All All right, the good news is that it now has an IP on the local network. So as you can see here, it is now local. So 192.168.2.110. So now it's a part of my network. And I assume this will be set to, this is going to be set to DHCP, which I think is what I set before. So it should get an IP address every time that it is plugged in. Yes, it's dynamic IP. So we're good there. And what I have to do now, as was noted, was that we have to set up the wireless passwords, because we never set up security on these things. So it looks like it, okay, this is the 5 gigahertz one. So we're going to call, that's the 2.4, never mind. So we're going to give WPA2, and we're just going to do, I'm keeping it simple, because again, this is a field production thing. Maybe I'll put a little bit more complexity to that, just as I'm thinking out loud. So give me 1 second here. I'm just going to update my notes. So I have the password set up here. So I'm going to set up these passwords. And that way, when we have one of these phones to connect, we can just connect in that way. Okay, so that is done. Jose NY, thank you for following on Amazon. Okay, so I'm going to set that password, and then we're going to do it on the other one too. So it's got to apply the settings, and then it'll come back. And then we'll connect this phone up, and we'll run like a little test and see if it can support, I'm going to see if it can support 2 phones. And we'll set up my vMix here on the computer to accommodate that. All right, so that one's done. And let's go to the 5 gigahertz. And I'll repeat the process there. And just so you can see what I'm about to do, I switched over to the 5 gigahertz network. And I'm calling it, I like to keep my networks bifurcated. I don't like to have one SSID for everything. I like to control what frequency my devices connect at. So here we're going to set up the 5 gigahertz with its own SSID. And that way we know which one we're on. Now you get a little more range on the 2.4, but you get more bandwidth on the 5. You know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, right? Jinto on Amazon, is this repeater directional or just general? I'm guessing general, although, you know, with the MIMO, you do get some beamforming. So it will beamform. I don't know how it works, to be honest. I'm guessing it routes it through different antennas, but it does do some beamforming. And I think Wi-Fi 6, if your device supports it, is more aggressive about that beamforming. So we will see about that. And let me see. I'm just curious if we can change the frequencies that it runs on. I'm just looking through the wireless settings. It doesn't appear. Well, I can choose the channel. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this screen just to show you what I'm going to be doing here. We can choose the channel width, and I'm going to go with 40 megahertz because that will give us the most bandwidth. And what I need to do is see what channels my unifies are occupying so that I don't mess it up. So the basement is on channel. See, I don't understand like the conventions here because these numbers I don't think align with, because my thing here says 36 plus 1, whatever that means. Let me see what my other ones are on. So the basement is that one. Let me see what this one is in the living room. So this one is channel 1. Yeah, see, these channels don't line up. I don't know where it gets. I'm going to leave it on auto because, you know, it'll probably detect the other one. I can tell you my Unify system is not going to be happy with me when I get this going because it very much likes to be the only thing on the network. And this I'm not going to use in the home. Again, this is going to be a remote production kind of thing. So we will apply that setting. So we're at the higher bandwidth here. And you know what I think I'll do is maybe I'll connect my iPhone to it, and we'll see if it, you know, what speed it can connect to my speed test at. So let's try that real quick. All right, it's giving me a weak security warning, although I think that's because the password I chose is not very big, very long. Okay, so let's go to speedtest.net, and we'll do a quick test here. We'll hit go. Let's see what, let's make sure it doesn't show my IP. Yeah, we're good. Oops. Yeah, so right next to it, it's doing good. You know, this is Wi-Fi 6, so we're getting, you know, about 700 and change. It was dropping down a little bit. Now, granted, we're right next to it, so. But that's what I'm looking for. The upstream is really the important thing here. Bandwidth, but also availability. So I think those are the two things that I need the most of. But that was good. That was a good test. So it works as I expected it would work. So now, here's the fun part. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect two phones to the network and see how this works. We got one phone connected already, and then I'm going to go to my Pixel phone here, and we're going to connect it up, and we're going to try that NDI camera thing, and we're going to do two cameras just to see how this works. All right. Oops. You got some more comments coming in here. Tony Paget uses TP-Link network power adapter to connect to the electrical system. Yeah, they're solid. And I've got, you know, the switch. I think the switch that I have has like a lifetime warranty, because we ended up having an issue with one of them, and they took it back like 3 years later. It was really, really nice. All right, so let's connect this one, and we're going to try out the camera on here. Okay, so we are connected. So give me 1 second here. And what I'll do is I'll show you my screen when we connect it up. Mark Smith is wondering, what are the use cases for this? So there's a couple of them. I mean, this is being marketed as a range extender. So, you know, the consumer use of this would be that you wanted to plug a hole in your Wi-Fi. And what they typically do is they have you connect to your router with it, and then it works as kind of a repeater. But I guess this also works with their one mesh system if you have other TP-Link devices in the house. But what I am using it as is an access point. So this is basically a dumb access point. So my devices are connecting to the antennas, and I'm communicating through this Ethernet cable. That's how that's working. Jacob is here. Hello. Yeah, monkey123. Wasn't that like the most common password? Or I remember from Security Now they said that. Mark Smith says, can you get a static IP? Yes, you could set a static IP for it. I am not going to do that because tomorrow, so again, I'm going to be using this as a production device to bring in my NDI Wi-Fi cameras. So it is going to vary based on where it's plugged in. So it's set now just to be, you know, DHCP, but you could set it to static. I might look at some more of these. Absolutely. And we got we got some more laptop reviews coming up. B-Ren we got more. Got so many. What's funny is I get through like 2 of them, and then I get 3 more. So I am still overloaded with laptops. So we're getting through them as fast as we can. And Patrick has a good point here too. Yeah, iPod touches, iPads, whatever you got. So here's how this is going to work. So let me pull up my NDI screen here, or my vMix system. So this is what I see. This is my control panel that I see as I'm doing stuff. Now what we're going to do here, because you can see the phone in there, we're going to go to the NDI camera app. And right now it's set to 1080p. I'm going to enable that. All right. So and please, you're going to see a big mess in my office here, so just ignore the mess, okay? Because it's been one of those weeks. Okay, so I'm going to click on Add Input. I'm going to go to NDI, and on this list we will see my Pixel 4a, and I'm going to click OK. So now, there we go. We've got an NDI camera right in there. There's a little bit of latency on it. I think a little bit more than I get with my iPhone. Here, let me show you. So if you look down here, you'll see the latency. So NDI always has a bit of latency, and I think it's a little bit worse on on this, but here's the image coming through. So it's got a little bit of latency. That's not necessarily the fault of the Wi-Fi. I think it's more the camera and the phone. So I'm going to have to troubleshoot this a little bit. And it might just be that I've got to adjust some settings on it. But what's cool is that when the camera is live, so watch this, it's going to change from red to green. See how it's green now? When it goes live, it's red. So the camera operator knows when they're live. But it's a little bit, it's okay. It's okay. All right, so we're going to leave this one active. I'm going to put this down for a second. So we'll just kind of point it at the ceiling for a second. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my iPhone to the mix. Now my iPhone is also on the same network still. Let me make sure. Yep, it's still there. So now we're going to go to the NDI app on this one. And I'm going to enable that. And let me just turn it to, yep, it's on 1080p. Okay, so now I've got this phone going. So let's go over to here, and I'll give you the view. So here's the iPhone. And I'm going to add this one now. And with all of this going on, I am still, where is it? Lon's iPhone. Here we go. So now we've got two NDI sources. But look at the latency on the iPhone. So the iPhone has much lower latency. So again, look down in the corner. So the iPhone just does this better than the Pixel phone does. But it could just be, actually, you know something? It feels about the same. Now that you mentioned, the latency is better, but I'm seeing a little roughness on the frame rate. See how it jumps around a little bit? So we're going to have to play with that a little bit. But for the stream that we're doing tomorrow, it should be fine. There's not like high expectations for it. So now what I'm going to do, because I have two cameras active now, we're going to make a little two-up thing. So I'm just going to add this as a virtual set, because these are super easy to do. So we'll go here, and I'm just going to grab this thing, and I'll add to the list here, and I'm going to go to Setup, and we can actually change the background layer so I can have it be my looping background. How about that? And then we'll go to Camera 1 will be the Pixel. Oops, sorry, wrong one. 1 second. I got to do this real quick. Loop darker. And then we're going to go over to Box 1. And Pixel. See how easy this can be? Oops, I did it again. Box 2 is going to be the iPhone. Okay, there we go. So now, boom, we've got two. And it's working exactly like I hoped it would. And by the way, after all this, we're only using about 10% of the CPU. So the CPU is starting to pick up steam a little bit. So this will impact my laptop a little bit more. And we can even have the cameras look at each other. I don't know which one is which. We can have them shoot the same thing. But that's good. That's what I wanted, was to be able to do two cameras. And yeah. Pretty cool. How about that, huh? So that's how that works. Perfect. Mission accomplished. That's all I wanted to do. Set that up. So we are good there. Okay, so let me go catch up on some chats here now that we got this up and running. Saddam Khalil Tajik is here from Afghanistan again. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. I love how we have people from all over the world watch me work out of my basement. It's so cool. Yeah, so I have, Zachary pointed this out too. Yeah, I have the Comcast Gigabit Pro service. Not to brag or anything. I'm paying a fortune for it, but it's super quick. And it's rock solid. So I have a fiber optic connection that goes straight back to the mothership. Actually, I could even show you. We'll do a little test here if you want to see the router. All right, so we'll put this camera live again. And again, pardon the mess, everybody. It's been one of those years. So here we'll go jump into the closet here, and this will be a good test to see how well it works at a little bit of a distance. don't mind the cable management. You know, we're working on it. So this box here on the bottom is the Comcast equipment. That yellow wire is coming, it's basically spliced into the telephone pole. And there's a laser inside of that module, and it is transmitting 6 miles back to the Comcast head end I get basically 3 gigabits because there's a Ethernet leg and then there's a fiber leg on this device. So the total aggregate that I have is 3 gigabits, although it could handle 10 gig over that fiber connection. And the orange wire goes into my Unify equipment, and we go from there. So it's great because, you know, we're streaming out to 2 different places right now, and, you know, it works. It's good stuff. So yeah, it's basically 3 gig symmetrical, but I'm only using 2 of it because the other gigabit is on a separate leg. But it's good stuff. Patrick Lasco is saying, recommended extension for Google Chrome. Give me some help. Give me some additional help on that. So I'm not sure what you're asking about. If you're asking about ad blockers, which we were talking about before, uBlock Origin is great. Joe Tyson has a Netgear 8-port switch that has been plugged in for over 23 years. That is amazing. We have, at my old job, and it's still there because I pop in every once in a while, we have a Kingston switch. It was like the first networks, the first like RJ45 switch I ever bought. It was a Kingston. It's 10 megabits. And I bought it in 1994, 94, 95, somewhere about there. And it still works. It's amazing. It's not a, actually, I'm sorry, it's not even a switch. It is a hub. So we had to buy a switch because we were getting too many network collisions with file sharing on that level there. But yeah, these things come, when you get one that works, it's good. Jeremy says, I don't understand how Romania and Eastern European had fiber optics in the mid-2000s. Yeah, that's an ongoing problem, right? I think the biggest challenge in the United States, at least, is that when you get beyond the suburbs, when you get beyond the city and the suburbs, your density spreads out, right? You don't have any density. It's very sparsely populated. And, you know, we're a big country geographically, and it's hard to make the business case a lot of times to get fiber out to every remote location. And I think we talked about that during my SpaceX video, because that is really difficult. And I think that's what we're dealing with. And so, like where I am, even where I live, so I'll give you a great example. So we've suddenly seen an explosion of ISP choices. I kid you not. Like we went from Comcast or nothing to, in some parts of town, the densely populated parts of town, you now have, I think, 4 or 5 choices. This is just in the last year that are decent. So the phone company, which was bankrupt, got out of bankruptcy. This is Frontier. So now they're doing fiber to the home, but only in like the densely populated areas. It's an okay service. It's you know, it's shared fiber. I think what they call that, GPON. Shared fiber. They do like half a gigabit and gigabit, and it's symmetrical. So they're in place now in the denser parts of town. T-Mobile and Verizon are offering 5G to the home. You know, you put a thing out, an antenna out in your yard or whatever. That service, not ultra wideband, but it's still, you know, decent enough broadband, no data cap, but it works over the same 5G tower. So they're doing something. Comcast is out there. And then when you go up to the suburbs of Hartford in Connecticut here, there's that company that we interviewed, Go NetSpeed. They're out there running fiber. So some of those towns are going to have a choice of Comcast and 2 different fiber providers. And this is all in the last 7 or 8 months. But it's because there's density and then there's enough competition, like enough customers to have competition. And I think the challenge is where you get into those areas where there's less. And to this point, no. So SpaceX has, if you look at my Starlink videos, we've tested it now in 2 different locations. And then another friend of mine in town has it too. It works. It works great. Not gigabit yet. You probably won't get that upstream, but I'll tell you what, it is night and day for a lot of folks. Night and day. Redacted has a TP-Link router in the hall. I get barely a good signal 15 feet away from it just because of the, yeah, that's, I was just having a conversation with somebody about this today about Wi-Fi. So a friend of mine called me up, and this friend of mine is in the legislature, and said people were calling her saying that, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. People were calling up saying that the realtors were purposely slowing Wi-Fi down to get people to sell their homes and move. Like, where do people come up with this stuff? It's just that, as you said, like the concrete, the stuff in your walls, the furniture, like all this stuff impacts. And I had that issue here because I had to put, so in my house, I've got an access point down here. I got the Wi-Fi 6 Unify up on the ceiling over there. So that one is what I use down here for the Wi-Fi devices. I try to plug in via Ethernet wherever I can, and I've got Ethernet everywhere now, or mostly everywhere. And then I've got one down here. I have one at the midpoint in my living room, bedroom area. So my master bedroom is on the lower floor. And then upstairs picks up the midpoint one down here. And then for the kids' rooms, they're on this other one that I set up in our little bonus room. So I had to go with three access points to get Wi-Fi coverage all over the house because these signals are very weak. And so a lot of these people are like, oh, our range is great, da 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 da. And the range, you got to think about with this stuff is that the range is limited by physics. And yes, you can have a slightly better antenna than the next one, but the reality is these things are broadcasting at essentially the same output power. And your devices both, your computers are communicating with it at the same broadcast power. Because the FCC here in the US and other regulatory agencies around the world all manage this stuff or regulate this stuff. You can't have too much power. So I think that's the limiting factor. And that's why you got to, wherever you've got a dead zone, you put these things kind of at the midpoint and you can kind of extend it out. And that's what I would do. All right. I'm trying to keep up with all the chats here. But the good news is the mission is accomplished. The goal today was to set this up as a portable access point so we can bring these NDI cameras in over Wi-Fi. Done. And then, as you saw, though, there's latency with the NDI. So one of the problems with these NDI cameras is that if you're bringing audio in through your main camera, it's going to be out of sync. And there's I guess you could delay the audio, but it's hard because the latencies are going to be all over the place with these NDI HX devices. So that's always the tricky problem with that. Okay. All right. So yes, I'm way behind on the chat here. So Discovery wants to know, is this laptop also on the extender? No. So what the plan will be for tomorrow is that I've got my Lenovo Y740, the gaming laptop. That is our production machine, so that's going to be running vMix. And vMix is actually, this is vMix, as crazy as this looks. Once you get the hang of vMix, it totally makes sense. But it looks a little scary when you first play with it. So the laptop is going to be running vMix. It's going to be hardwired into a Comcast connection where we're going to be. And this is what's funny, is that we are doing this in the back of my friend Joe's shop. He's a construction. Got an excellent construction company, and he does these really beautiful houses, renovations, you name it. So he has Comcast at his place. He's got the commercial one, but his upstream is only 5 megabits per second. But he's got this house that he's restoring right next door that has residential service with 25 megabits upstream. So we're going to plug into that one. We've got a 200-foot cable we're going to run over to his shop from the house next door, plug into that, and upload that way. And we're actually going to be on Facebook. We're doing Facebook. And actually, Facebook has a neat feature, which is that if you lose your connection, it doesn't kill the stream like YouTube does. So that was nice to see. So we're gonna stream for 2.5 hours. The first 30 minutes is going to be a video that our local River Museum put together on Connecticut shad. And then after that, we're going to bring in a guy, our Department of Environmental Protection expert on shad. He's going to talk about shad, the history of it. and then we're going to go and cook some of it. That's the game plan. So that is how it's going. Redacted said, hit like for the mess. Yeah, it is a total disaster in here. Super chat from Thomas Yanfang. Thank you very much. Given my recent troubles in coverage with America's broadband gaps, I'm curious what you propose to fix urban gaps. Most people in cities lack broadband. That is an issue. That is an issue because there are places, and actually there's situations too where you have the broadband but people can't afford to connect to it. So that is a problem. I will give Comcast credit for this because we've worked with them with the school system locally here. If people meet certain income levels, they can connect at a very reasonable rate. And my concern when they were doing the entire issue with the data caps, which they've since reversed, the data caps were going to be an issue. I was really concerned about that. So they have since resolved that issue. And Thomas Yanfang, my goodness, he gave me 2 of these things. I hate to take off. I was just behind on the chat. But he also pointed out, let me get to the other chat here. He also pointed out that we frequently hear about rural broadband. Yes, so the same as before. Thank you, by the way, for your support. But that is a problem. And I think it's exactly what you said. It is price. And Comcast does have a program, which is better than nothing, I guess, but that is a problem. And it also becomes an issue for competition because if I'm that company that's offering competitive fiber service, am I going to go to a place where where people can't afford to purchase my service, right? So that's an issue too. My state is working on a lot of this right now. They're trying to really push out broadband to every place. And I will say, I mean, credit to Comcast, they were very helpful in pricing things in a way that people could afford. And I think, I'm trying to remember how I think they actually offered free service for a while. So that service level that they charged very little for, they were doing for free when kids were all home learning. So, you know, credit where it's due. But you're right, price is a factor, and it is creating inequities. Which, we were dealing with inequities in the school system before, not necessarily in connectivity initially, but in the ability to own a computer. So I've been on the Board of Ed for 17, 18 years. And so when I first got on the board, we often had discussions about what do the kids do at home who don't have a computer because they were behind their peers who did. And that was, at that point, it was hard you could not find a $200 anything. And so we had issues where kids would be coming in early or staying late after their peers left or before their peers arrived so that they could get to the computer to do work or just to explore what it was about. So I think that's where the Chromebooks have really made a big difference because we're able to, we have now K-12, every kid has a computer, every single one. So that is how that works. And Redacted, thanks for pushing the likes. Yeah, we need to get the engagement up here. I got to take off in a minute though, everybody, because I am still not done with my workday. I'm like doing 4 things at once. So this was a fun opportunity because I bought this and I was like, you know what, this might be a fun stream to set this thing up. And as you saw, it wasn't that hard to get going. But again, I'm using it as an access point. So that works exceptionally well. But yeah, we've had some issues here in the US where the carriers were supposed to do more and didn't, for sure. But I think Thomas makes a good point that there are places where there is broadband and people can't actually afford to connect to it. So it's never ending. I think they call it, let's see, broadband, low income. Let me see what they call it. I think it's called, it's called Internet Essentials. Okay, so this is the offer from Comcast. It is 50 megabits down, 5 up. So I mean, it's good enough for a couple. E-learning, it's pushing it. If you got 3 or 4 kids at home, that's pushing it. But it's enough, I think, for a family to get by. $10 a month plus tax. Before, for a short time, like at the height of the pandemic, it was free. They gave it away for free. No activation fee, no equipment rental fees. option to purchase a computer for $150, and they have a training program and a wireless gate. So, I mean, honestly, I think that's a good thing. So what's the qualifications? You're eligible if you are on a public assistance program. So any student that's on the National School Lunch Program is eligible. So that hits a lot of families that are, are in need. If you get housing assistance, Medicaid, SNAP, SSI, and others, you have to live in an area where Comcast service is available, obviously. So here's the only kicker, though. This is where it could be a problem. You are not an existing customer, and you have not subscribed to Comcast Internet within the last 90 days. And that might exclude people who fell on hard times and couldn't pay their bill, right? So, yeah, so this is the one issue with it. They also say that if you owe Comcast money, so if you have an outstanding debt to Comcast that is less than 1 year old, you're ineligible. But they waived that during the coronavirus thing. But after June 30th, at the end of this month, it goes back to the eligibility issue. So that's the one thing, because if you were able to pay your bill and then you fell on hard times and you could not afford to continue service, they got to be more flexible with that. I'm hoping they are, but that's how that works. Mr. Pikol says, do I age? I do age. If you go back and look at my prior videos, I look a lot younger. My hair has no gray in it. So we'll see where it goes. So our kids have Chromebooks. It's a variety of brands, but I've seen the one that my daughter comes home with. It's kind of like the ones that we typically review here. They're Intel Gemini Lake and Apollo Lake based machines. So those work pretty well. Look, I don't know what each school district does things differently, but I can tell you in my school district, every kid has a computer K-12, every single one. And I know that, and I will make this point, we struggled in Connecticut to get enough laptops into the schools where they did not have enough, so that's how that works. But if you hear me, he says, I never age. Well, you all made my day here, because I was looking in the mirror. I was like, man, I'm starting to look old. Yeah, they have some new ONN devices. I got to check those out. I'm going to be on the lookout for that. Mr. Heichel has been here since I've had 3,000 subs. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I like the gadget items. And I need to get back to those. There hasn't been a lot lately, so it's been tough to find some of these things. In French Lick, Indiana, every student has a Chromebook. Yeah, every community is going to be a little bit different. Every state's a little bit different. I think, though, what we'll see is that, due to the drop in cost on these Chromebooks, you're seeing more and more schools get them. And Microsoft, of course, is trying to get aggressive there, too. So it's, we'll get there. We'll get there. And I'll say this much. Leo Laporte kind of looks the same, too. I don't think he ages all that much. I like Leo Laporte. He was like one of the inspirations for my channel. I listen to Security Now. That's the podcast I listen to the most from his thing. I like Steve Gibson, too. He's a good guy. And actually, I'm buddies with Dick DiBartolo, because Dick DiBartolo I see at all the New York shows that I go to. So he's a good guy. All right. Well, everybody, I have to get back to the grind here and get moving. So let me know what we've got. I'll let you all know what's happening next. Mark Smith wants to know, do we have any reviews of Chromebooks coming up? I did one recently. I know Acer's got a bunch of new ones. I'm going to get them in as soon as possible. So I am struggling. Look, this is not a complaint, because I am a very fortunate man to do what I do for a living, but I have more laptops than I know what to do with right now. So I just shot another one. And it's funny, last week I was so proud of myself. I got 2 or 3 of them knocked out, and then 3 more showed up. So I'm back to square one. So I'm getting there. So we have an HP with it's a 13-inch NV. I have it right here. I just shot this one today. So this is the 13-inch NV. Now we looked at this one with the AMD. This one has the Tiger Lake chip. So it's got an Intel chip with Thunderbolt, and it plays games, which the other one does too, but this one plays them a little better. So that's what we got there. Okay. So that's it. So in any event, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for helping me get my remote production thing set up. And tomorrow is going to be fun. So we're going to have probably 2 or 3 cameras, a laptop, and we'll see how it all goes. Then we got one guy we're bringing in over vMix call. So we'll have to see how that goes too. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I greatly appreciate just spending time with you all. It's fun to connect with everybody. And I will be back over the weekend. So tomorrow I'm doing that live stream, which won't be on this channel. It's on Facebook. If you look for the Essex Rotary Club, you'll see us there. And then, so that'll be tomorrow. And then Sunday, you might see me on Sunday. We'll see what's going on with the family. But I've got so much stuff to do, so much. So we'll be back. So I will talk to you all very soon, and have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. And we'll put on our thanks for watching here, and I'll catch you next time. I want to, first of all, I got to say some thank yous here. Thank yous to Wolf Factor and Thomas Anfang for your generous super chats. Thank you all very much, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.